Hello guys, the China-Africa Summit is about to happen from the 4th to 6th of this month. Just a few days left, about 1 day left actually. Now, we know that Africa has been going to various summits in the past, including the US Africa Summit. We have had even Turkey Africa Summit, Europe Africa Summit, India Africa Summit, UK Africa Summit, ever since the United Kingdom also left, the UK with the Brexit. So everyone has been courting Africa. And of course, it is the same trend. But of course, let us not forget that it is China who started this trend. So it is going on, all right? It is going on. Now, what to expect from this particular summit on the side of Africa and on the side of China, that is something to be left to the heads of state, of course. But we can speculate looking at the trend, the past trend, and what has been promised by China itself, and also what China has been doing, on the African continent. And this, of course, as you are seeing in the news, there's particular media platforms which have reported on this. A few African platforms, in majority of the times, African platforms are really not interested in their affairs, of course, surprisingly. And they wait until the West has commented about something and they copy and paste on it. And that is the situation that is happening with one of the media platforms that we have noticed on the African continent. It copied, news from Reuters, and Reuters itself has an embedded, as a neo-colonial system itself, it has a group of people who are embedded on the African continent. They comment as if they are, on the side of Africa and China, as if they are experts on Africa and China, and they are Western people. Now Reuters picks it up and writes in its newspapers, and then sends it to some of their outlets, which is platforms embedded in East Africa there, and of course some of them are embedded in West Africa. Of course, they have control over our continent. Now, we are going to look at all these in an extended version, but what we want to say is that the African heads of state, of course, as always, have trooped in there all your suspects, including the usual suspect who said that he doesn't want African leaders to troop to these countries anymore, and they should be represented by only about a few or 6 or 4 people. And of course, we are seeing majority of the continent is going to be there. Most of the leaders on the continent are going to be there, have expressed their presence, have expressed their desire to be present, or they have confirmed their presence at this particular summit. We've seen Zimbabwe, we've seen South Africa is going to be there. We've seen, Kenya is going to be there. We have seen, even Mali is going to be there. The revolutionary leader, Assimi Goita of Mali is going to be there. And many others. Only Burkina Faso has not confirmed whether it's going to be there. But majority are going to be there. Comoros, all these countries, all these African countries are going to be there. And of course, they expect a lot of things from China, considering the fact that China is Africa's biggest partner when it comes to trade, all right? And China in the past has been, one of the most productive lender on the African continent. Not the biggest lender, but the most productive lender on the African continent. That what it lends to the continent, you see really what comes out of China's money. That is that's the thing. Compared to others, what they have been lending to the continent, in most cases is unproductive, is for their own, that what they say is coming to the continent doesn't really come. The money doesn't come. Instead, that money, remains in Washington or remains in London. It's just promises which they give. So China's lending has been productive. And of course, also assistance. There's pure assistance without lending. You can look at even the headquarters of the African Union itself was built by the Chinese. You can talk of the Africa CDC, Center for Disease Control, which is a building that was promised by China, during 2021 FOCAC summit. So China, at least, it does something. Now, I'm not saying that this is the way to go for Africa. I believe that Africa should be able to do things for itself, and that is the only way we can develop, because we cannot develop on aid and being helped by others, since it erodes our confidence ourselves. Even if they come and build the whole continent for us and build all the roads for us, it erodes our confidence. We wouldn't be confident that we built this society, we built this civilization. Our forefathers, what they envisioned is for us to rebuild our civilization, not people to come and build for us a few roads here and an airport there. So this is not what our forefathers actually envisioned. They envisioned us rebuilding our society. This would create a lot of confidence in us when we build these roads for us. So if you see any leader who's building a road or an airport or a stadium and brings in whether Chinese, whether it's Europeans, because this is the thing. Europeans blame the Chinese, Europeans, and of course the Americans, they are the same people, because they are the same descendants. When you talk about Europeans, you're talking about America, you're talking about Canada, you're talking about Australia, all of them, and of course the United Kingdom. They always say that China brings its workers, but the Europeans, they also do the same thing. They have been doing the same thing for years. For the few projects even which they build, if there's any projects actually which they have built, because when you look around the African continent, it's very difficult. It's very difficult even to pin the projects which these guys have built. If it is not a road here, it's very difficult. You can't even count what they have built on the continent, the infrastructures they have helped Africa to build, on the fingers like this. Most of the claim which they make that they have helped Africa to achieve is actually mere promises and empty air, which you don't see. You just see figures, but you don't see anything that has been built. And so this is the relationship, of course, Africa has with the West, and versus the relationship which Africa has with China. And of course, our relationship with China is not perfect. China has its own interests, and if someone has their interests, of course they cannot be your number one point of contact when it comes to building yourself as a civilization. The Chinese did not rely on the West, even though they attracted the West to come and invest in their country. They reorganized their society. So we have a challenge that as Africans, we have to reorganize our society and rebuild it. So we're going to look at this in an extended video this evening together with Mahlet, and I welcome you to sit in and understand what is going to happen between 4th and 6th of this month, one day from now, with the China-Africa Summit, which is called the FOCAC. Normally it's called the Forum. Forum for China-Africa Cooperation. That is what it is normally called. And of course, as I said, most of the other countries across the world, developed countries across the world, including France and all the others, whether it is Italy, they have been copying what China has been doing. They have actually been following into what China has been doing, in Africa, on the African continent. So with that being said, let me break off from here so that we can wait for the extended version of this conversation to break it down and see what are the expectations. Is there new projects which are going to come, out of this? And of course, what are the challenges? We have seen already the West has started pushing itself, and it has a network of neo-colonial media platforms across the African continent, is poking its nose in this particular summit. Even though after the US-Africa Summit of 2022, we have not seen anything tangible from this summit ever since, it was held in 2022. And yet they say they committed about $55 billion over a period of, 3 years. So this is what we're going to discuss. We're going to break this all, down to understand who is who and when it comes to Africa, and is Africa handling it the right way, or we are missing it. All right, how we're going to compare with the US, of course, and also we are going to look at the future, how Africa should be behaving, how Africa should be handling itself, and how Africa should look at development, of course. How should we look at development? How should we handle our own development? Because we have the capability to build these infrastructures that we are just going around the world begging. We have the capability of building, our own continent, our own civilization. But is it that the African heads of state are handicapped, that they cannot see? So all these, we are going to break them down in the extended video in the evening. So be on that live and come in and comment, and we will be glad to hang in there with you and discuss or have this discussion with you. Thank you so much. My name is Kwame Goza. The channel is called Connect Africa and Africa Reimagined. Please share the channel with others. Make sure you like the video and share it with others. Do not leave it for us. And also support the channel, please, in any way which you can, PayPal account, and also super chat. Support us so that we can grow, but more so invite other people to the channel. Thank you so much, and my name is Kwame Goza. Peace. God bless you.